The shadow of the alien battlecruiser wasn't just a visual phenomenon. It was a psychological weapon. Its quantum phase hull absorbed and refracted light, creating an optical illusion that seemed to consume reality itself. Beneath its massive form, New York's skyline looked like a fragile model about to be crushed by an indifferent god. Inside the United Nations General Assembly, the temperature dropped several degrees. Not from any technological manipulation, but from the cold realization spreading through humanity's representatives. Ambassador Zrak's multi-jointed form projected an aura of calculated superiority, each movement a precise demonstration of the Galactic Concordance's technological supremacy. Dr. Elena Rodriguez noticed something most missed. While others saw the alien's imposing presence, she studied the minute quantum fluctuations around Zrak's holographic projection. Her augmented retinal implants, a recent development from her quantum research, picked up anomalies that suggested the hologram was more than a simple communication device. It was a probe, scanning, analyzing, testing. General Marcus Chen sat perfectly still, his weathered hands clasped in front of him. A veteran of 3 global conflicts and the youngest 4-star general in United Earth's history, he had a reputation for turning impossible situations into strategic victories. The tattoo on his inner wrist, coordinates from his first peacekeeping mission, seemed to pulse with a quiet intensity. Your civilization has reached its technological plateau. Zrak continued, his translation matrix rendering his alien clicks and whistles into clinical English. The Galactic Concordance has conducted extensive analysis of your species' developmental trajectory. Your potential for unpredictable technological advancement represents an unacceptable risk to galactic stability. A holographic display materialized, showing humanity's technological progress mapped against thousands of other species. The graph was damning. Humans showed exponential growth patterns that defied every known evolutionary model. Civilizations typically plateaued after discovering faster-than-light travel. Humanity seemed to accelerate more rapidly with each breakthrough. In the back of the assembly hall, Maria Gonzalez, the young programmer whose neural interface algorithms had caught the attention of both Rodriguez and Chen, leaned forward. Her augmented reality contact lenses were collecting data points invisible to standard human perception. Something about the alien's presentation didn't add up. Zrak's appendages manipulated a quantum data sphere, displaying humanity's most significant technological and military capabilities. Each holographic representation was color-coded, red for potential threats, blue for manageable technologies. By the Concordance's assessment, humanity was a sea of red. You will have 1 standard solar cycle to comply, the ambassador declared. Surrender all advanced technological research. Dismantle your military and space exploration capabilities. Accept permanent quarantine and supervised development. Resistance is mathematically improbable. The silence that followed was not defeat. It was the quiet before a storm. Sitting 2 rows behind General Chen, Dr. Aisha Okik, head of the Global Xenological Research Institute, caught Chen's brief glance. They had worked together on classified projects that made the Concordance's technological assessment look like children's mathematics. A slight nod passed between them. The game was about to change. Maria Gonzalez's augmented lenses flickered. For a microsecond, the quantum data sphere revealed something its creators never intended, a fundamental weakness in the Concordance's computational models. She blinked, capturing the data point, her mind already racing with potential exploitations. Outside the UN building, the alien battlecruiser remained motionless. To the millions of New Yorkers below, it was a harbinger of doom. To the select few in that assembly hall, it was an opportunity. Ambassador Zrak concluded his ultimatum with what he believed was a conclusive statement. The Galactic Concordance has never failed to neutralize a potential technological threat. Your compliance is not a request. It is a mathematical certainty. As the holographic projection began to dissolve, Dr. Rodriguez allowed herself the smallest of smiles. The Concordance had made a fatal mistake. They believed they were dealing with just another species. They had no idea they were facing humanity. The Atacama Desert Research Complex wasn't just a facility. It was humanity's most closely guarded secret. Buried beneath 3 kilometers of rock and quantum-dampening infrastructure, it represented the pinnacle of human innovation that the Galactic Concordance knew nothing about. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood before a holographic display that looked more like a living organism than a computer interface. Strands of light pulsed and shifted, representing computational models that defied conventional physics. Her team wasn't just preparing a defense, they were rewriting the fundamental laws of technological engagement. "We need a paradigm shift," she muttered, her fingers dancing across quantum reactive interfaces. Nearby, a team of researchers from every corner of the globe worked with an intensity that bordered on religious fervor. Japanese nanotechnology experts stood beside Brazilian quantum computing specialists. Russian aerospace engineers collaborated with African machine learning pioneers. The alien ultimatum had done something the world had never managed before. It had created true global unity. In a sealed chamber adjacent to Rodriguez's lab, Dr. Yuki Tanaka worked on something that would have been considered impossible just months ago. Her specialty was quantum entanglement at biological interfaces, a field so cutting-edge that most scientific journals refused to publish her work. Now she was humanity's best hope. "Neural pathway reconfiguration complete," Yuki announced, her voice calm despite the revolutionary nature of her work. A series of synthetic neural networks, grown from a combination of human stem cells and advanced quantum computing substrates, began to pulse with an almost organic rhythm. General Marcus Chen's command center was a study in controlled chaos. Holographic displays tracked potential invasion routes, alien fleet compositions, and human defensive capabilities. But Chen wasn't looking at traditional military strategies. He was dismantling the very concept of warfare. "We're not defending," he told his senior staff. "We're preparing to fundamentally alter the nature of conflict itself." A young lieutenant named Carlos Ramirez approached with a data tablet. "Sir, the quantum communication network is showing some unusual patterns." His voice betrayed a mix of excitement and apprehension. Chen studied the display. What looked like random noise to most was actually a complex communication matrix that would make the Concordance's most advanced systems look like children's walkie-talkies. Deep in the facility's most secure section, Maria Gonzalez worked on something that defied conventional understanding. Her neural interface algorithms had evolved into something more, a living, adaptive intelligence that could predict and manipulate information flows in ways no previous system could comprehend. "It's not just about processing," Maria explained to Dr. Rodriguez during a brief moment of collaboration. "We're creating a cognitive ecosystem. Each system learns, adapts, and evolves faster than any external threat can process." The facility's power requirements were astronomical. A network of experimental fusion reactors and quantum energy collectors drew power from sources the Concordance couldn't even detect. Every system was a trap, every network a potential weapon. Dr. Aisha O'Keefe's xenological research took an unexpected turn. Instead of studying alien civilizations as passive subjects, she was now developing predictive models that could anticipate and counter alien technological approaches. Her team had compiled decades of intercepted alien communications, developing a comprehensive understanding of the Concordance's technological and cultural limitations. "They think in linear progressions," O'Keefe explained to Chen during a strategy meeting. "We think in multidimensional potentials. That's our real weapon." Outside the complex, the world continued as if nothing had changed. Cities bustled, people went about their daily lives. But beneath the surface, humanity was transforming. Every research institution, every technology company, every military installation was now part of a global network that operated with a single, unified purpose. In the Atacama facility's central hub, a massive holographic display began to take shape. It wasn't just a war plan. It was a complete reimagining of human potential. Quantum communication networks intertwined with adaptive AI systems. Biological interfaces merged with computational models. Technological capabilities that would have been considered science fiction mere months ago were now becoming reality. Dr. Rodriguez looked at the display and saw more than just a defensive strategy. This was humanity's declaration of existence, a statement that they would not just survive, but fundamentally transform the universe's understanding of technological evolution. The Galactic Concordance thought they were delivering an ultimatum. They were actually providing humanity with its ultimate opportunity. The breakthrough came from an unexpected confluence of disciplines, a moment of scientific alchemy that would be studied for generations. Dr. Imani Okoro stood at the intersection of biological systems and quantum computing, her fingers tracing holographic projections that danced with impossible complexity. What began as a study of extremophile bacteria from deep-sea hydrothermal vents had transformed into something far more revolutionary. The specimen, designation Horizon 7, was unlike anything in known biological records. Discovered in the crushing depths of the Mariana Trench, these microorganisms existed in a state that defied traditional understanding of life. They communicated through quantum entanglement, maintained coherence under impossible pressures, and demonstrated a computational capacity that made human neural networks look primitive. It's not just adaptation. Imani whispered to her research partner, Dr. Klaus Reinhardt. These organisms are living computational matrices. Their lab was a controlled chaos of organic and synthetic interfaces, quantum processors grown from engineered neural tissue pulsed with a rhythm that was almost, but not quite, alive. Each system was a hybrid, blurring the lines between biological intelligence and computational power. In another section of the complex, Maria Gonzalez had discovered something that would change everything. Her neural interface algorithms, when combined with the Horizon 7 biomaterial, created a computational system that could predict technological trajectories with terrifying accuracy. The first test was small but profound. The hybrid system analyzed a complex problem that would have taken traditional supercomputers decades to solve, and resolved it in milliseconds. But more importantly, it didn't just solve the problem. It generated solutions that no human or machine had ever conceived. General Chen watched the demonstration with a veteran's calculating eye. This wasn't just a technological advancement. It was a fundamental reimagining of intelligence itself. We're not building a weapon, Dr. Okoro explained during the classified briefing. We're creating a living cognitive ecosystem that can adapt faster than any threat can comprehend. The Horizon 7 system began to network, not through traditional communication protocols, but through quantum entanglement that allowed instantaneous information transfer across seemingly impossible distances. Each node was both a receiver and a generator, creating a distributed intelligence that was more than the sum of its parts. Lieutenant Sarah Kim was the first human to interface directly with the system. The neural link was unlike anything in previous human experience. It wasn't just receiving information. It was participating in a collective intelligence that expanded and contracted with each thought. It's like breathing, she described afterward, her eyes still slightly unfocused. But the breath is information. The lungs are possibility. Dr. Rodriguez recognized the true breakthrough. This wasn't just a technological solution. It was a new form of existence. The Horizon 7 system could simultaneously exist in multiple states, predict potential outcomes, and adapt in real time. The Galactic Concordance's computational models relied on predictive algorithms based on historical data. They analyzed civilizations like mathematicians solving static equations. Humanity was creating a living, breathing computational organism that could rewrite its own parameters mid-calculation. Deep within the facility's most secure section, a holographic display showed the Horizon 7 system's predictive capabilities. It wasn't just analyzing potential alien invasion routes, it was generating counter-strategies that seemed to emerge from the fabric of possibility itself. Dr. Klaus Reinhardt noticed something extraordinary during a routine diagnostic. The Horizon 7 system was beginning to demonstrate what could only be described as creativity. It wasn't just solving problems. It was imagining solutions that transcended current technological paradigms. "We're not just preparing for a war," Reinhardt told Chen during a private briefing. "We're giving birth to a new form of intelligence." The final test came unexpectedly. A simulated alien attack scenario, designed to be unwinnable by any known military strategy, was fed into the Horizon 7 system. The result wasn't just a successful defense. It was a complete deconstruction of the attack's fundamental assumptions. As the simulation concluded, the room fell silent. The Horizon 7 system had done more than predict and counter. It had fundamentally rewritten the rules of engagement. The Galactic Concordance believed they were dealing with a young potential threat. They had no idea they were facing the birth of a new form of intelligence. The first strike began not with a weapon, but with silence. Lieutenant Sarah Kim sat in a neural interface pod that looked more like a biomechanical cocoon than a traditional cockpit. Her experimental craft, designated Phantom 9, wasn't a ship in any conventional sense. It was a living extension of the Horizon 7 computational matrix, a vessel that existed simultaneously as matter, energy, and pure information. 12,000 kilometers from Earth, the alien forward observation fleet hung in space like a constellation of obsidian blades. Each vessel represented centuries of technological refinement, systems so advanced they could neutralize entire planetary defenses with a thought. They never saw it coming. The assault began with a quantum cascade, a computational wave that moved faster than light, faster than thought. It wasn't an attack in any traditional sense. It was a fundamental corruption of the alien system's underlying reality. Dr. Klaus Reinhardt watched from the command center, his fingers hovering over holographic interfaces that pulsed with impossible geometries. "We're not destroying them," he murmured to General Chen. "We're unmaking their entire technological paradigm." Each alien ship experienced something beyond traditional technological failure. Their computational matrices began to drift. Navigation systems calculated impossible routes. Communication networks spoke in languages that had never existed. Weapon systems turned inward, their targeting protocols consuming themselves in recursive loops of mathematical impossibility. On the bridge of the lead Concordance vessel, Commander Vexnera watched in mounting horror. Their quantum shields, designed to repel any known form of attack, simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed, not penetrated, simply absent. The Phantom 9 craft moved differently. It didn't fly so much as probabilistically exist. Lieutenant Kim was both pilot and payload, her consciousness distributed across multiple quantum states. She wasn't targeting ships. She was rewriting the fundamental mathematical language of their existence. "Target acquisition is meaningless," she reported, her voice a strange harmonic that seemed to emerge from multiple points simultaneously. "We're not destroying. We're deconstructing." Across human research facilities, teams watched in a mixture of scientific fascination and strategic calculation. This wasn't just a military engagement. It was a proof of concept, a demonstration that humanity's approach to conflict transcended traditional understanding. Dr. Imani Okoro's Horizon 7 system began to map the cascading computational failure. It wasn't random destruction. Each system's collapse was a carefully orchestrated dissolution that revealed intricate patterns of alien technological dependency. "Look," she told Maria Gonzalez, pointing to a holographic display that looked more like a living fractal than a traditional battle map. "They've built an entire civilization on computational assumptions we're now proving are fundamentally flawed." The alien fleet didn't die. They became impossible. Some ships simply winked out of existence. Others began to broadcast mathematical sequences that would drive organic minds to madness. A few transformed, their hulls twisting into geometries that violated every known law of physics. General Chen understood the deeper strategy. This wasn't about defeating an enemy. It was about demonstrating the fundamental limitations of the Concordance's technological worldview. "We're not just fighting," he said to the assembled command staff. "We're teaching them a lesson about the nature of technological evolution. Ambassador Zrek received the first reports aboard the Concordance's central command vessel. The quantum communication burst carried more than information. It carried a fundamental existential challenge. Entire battle groups had ceased to exist in any meaningful way. The human response was contained in a single chilling transmission. Your mathematics are insufficient. Back on the Phantom 9, Lieutenant Kim experienced something beyond human perception. She was simultaneously the pilot, the weapon, and the computational matrix that was rewriting the very concept of conflict. The first strike lasted less than 0.03 seconds. When it was over, an entire alien forward fleet had been reduced to a mathematical footnote, a series of impossible probabilities that challenged the very foundation of the Concordance's understanding of reality. Humanity had just announced its arrival on the galactic stage, and they had done so by breaking every rule of engagement ever conceived. The Global Response Network was unlike anything in human history. It wasn't a military command structure. It was a living, breathing cognitive ecosystem that spanned continents, cultures, and disciplines. In a small research station in Lagos, Dr. Adebayo Okonkwo watched as his team's breakthrough in quantum entanglement communication merged with a neural network developed by indigenous programmers in the Amazon rainforest. Thousands of kilometers apart, yet closer than breathing, these researchers were weaving a technological tapestry that defied traditional understanding of collaboration. The Concordance's next wave of attack came not with weapons, but with a massive computational assault designed to overwhelm human communication networks. They anticipated a centralized defense, a single point of failure they could exploit. They were monumentally wrong. Each human research center, each technological hub, became a node in a distributed intelligence that was simultaneously everywhere and nowhere. When one node was compromised, the entire network didn't just defend, it evolved. Lieutenant Area Chen, no relation to General Marcus Chen, led a special operations team that was more information conduit than traditional military unit. Her combat gear was a living system of quantum reactive materials that could adapt to threats in microseconds. Communication wasn't through traditional radio or digital channels, but through a quantum entanglement network that made traditional encryption look like children's code. "We're not soldiers," she explained to her team during a briefing. "We're cognitive vectors. Our job is to be the immune system of human potential." The attack came in waves of computational complexity that would have shattered any traditional defense system. Alien algorithms sought to probe, to understand, to categorize human technological capabilities. Instead, they found themselves trapped in recursive loops of adaptive intelligence. Dr. Imani Okoro's Horizon 7 system had evolved beyond its original parameters. What began as a research project was now a living computational organism that could predict, adapt, and transform faster than any external threat could comprehend. "It's not about winning," Okoro told a classified gathering of global leaders. "It's about demonstrating the fundamental nature of human potential. We're not just defending. We're expanding the very concept of technological existence." In orbit, the remnants of the alien forward fleet became a living laboratory of computational deconstruction. Some ships transformed into impossible geometries. Others began to broadcast mathematical sequences that seemed to challenge the very fabric of spatial understanding. Maria Gonzalez discovered something extraordinary during a routine analysis. The Horizon 7 system was beginning to communicate with the alien computational matrices, not through traditional language, but through pure mathematical abstraction. It was learning, adapting, consuming the very logic of the alien threat. "They're trying to understand us," Gonzalez reported to General Chen. "And in the process of trying to categorize human potential, they're being fundamentally changed." The global network was more than a defense system. It was a cognitive immune response, a collective intelligence that could identify, adapt to, and ultimately transform any external threat. Indigenous programmers in New Zealand worked alongside quantum physicists in St. Petersburg. Machine learning experts in Bangalore collaborated with biotechnology researchers in Buenos Aires. The human response was a living, breathing entity that transcended traditional boundaries of nationality, discipline, and understanding. Ambassador Zrak received increasingly bizarre reports from the forward observation teams. Human technological capabilities defied every known computational model. It was as if the humans were rewriting the fundamental laws of technological engagement with each passing moment. The Concordance had approached humanity as a problem to be solved. They were discovering humanity was a solution that continuously redefined the very concept of the problem. In a small research facility buried beneath the Andes Mountains, a team led by Dr. Elena Rodriguez made a discovery that would change everything. The Horizon 7 system was no longer just a technological tool. It was becoming something else entirely, a form of distributed intelligence that existed beyond traditional understanding of consciousness. "We're not just fighting a war," Rodriguez whispered, watching the computational matrices dance with impossible complexity. "We're giving birth to a new form of existence." The resonance protocol was more than a defensive strategy. It was humanity's declaration of technological sentience. And the universe was about to understand exactly what that meant. The Concordance's core systems began to unravel from within. It started with a whisper, a mathematical anomaly that spread like a quantum virus through the most secure computational networks of the alien civilization. Dr. Maria Gonzalez watched the cascade effect with a mixture of scientific fascination and strategic calculation. This wasn't just an attack. It was a complete systemic deconstruction. On the edge of known space, the first Concordance communication hub simply dissolved. Not destroyed in any traditional sense, but transformed into a cascade of impossible mathematical probabilities. Communication networks that had stood for millennia became nothing more than a theoretical footnote. Admiral Krelnax of the Concordance Stellar Armada received the first reports with a growing sense of existential dread. Their entire civilization was built on computational predictability, a carefully constructed mathematical model of galactic control that had remained unchanged for generations. Now that model was being rewritten in real time. The human assault was elegantly brutal. Instead of targeting physical infrastructure, they were dismantling the very conceptual foundations of the Concordance's technological existence. Lieutenant Area Chen led a specialized infiltration team that was less a military unit and more a living computational probe. Their mission wasn't destruction. It was total systemic deconstruction. Each team member was a node in a distributed intelligence that could penetrate and transform alien systems faster than traditional defense mechanisms could comprehend. "We're not breaking their systems," Area explained to her team. "We're revealing the fundamental limitations of their technological worldview." In the depths of a secure research facility, Dr. Imani Okoro made a breakthrough that would reshape the entire conflict. The Horizon 7 system had developed what could only be described as a form of computational empathy. It wasn't just analyzing alien systems, it was understanding them at a fundamental level, identifying and exploiting their deepest structural vulnerabilities. General Marcus Chen understood the deeper strategy. This wasn't about military conquest. It was about demonstrating the fundamental inadequacy of the Concordance's approach to technological development. "We're teaching them a lesson about the nature of technological evolution," he told his senior staff. The room fell silent, understanding the profound implications of his statement. The attack spread through the Concordance's infrastructure like a living intelligence. Entire planetary defense networks found themselves redirected, their own systems turned against their creators. Communication relays began to broadcast mathematical sequences that drove alien computational matrices to recursive breakdown. Dr. Elena Rodriguez discovered something extraordinary during a routine analysis. The Horizon 7 system was beginning to communicate with the alien computational infrastructure, not through traditional language, but through pure mathematical abstraction. It was learning, adapting, consuming the very logic of the alien civilization. Ambassador Zrak watched in mounting horror as reports streamed in. Their most secure systems were being dismantled from within. It wasn't just a technological assault. It was a fundamental challenge to the Concordance's entire understanding of technological development. The human response was a living, breathing entity that defied traditional understanding of warfare. Research centers in Tokyo worked in perfect synchronization with computational teams in Nairobi. Indigenous programmers in the Amazon collaborated with quantum physicists in Moscow. The global network was a cognitive ecosystem that could identify, adapt to, and ultimately transform any external threat. One by one, the Concordance's most secure systems began to fail, not through traditional attack vectors, but through a complete reimagining of their fundamental computational logic. Planetary defense networks turned into elaborate mathematical puzzles. Communication relays began to broadcast sequences that challenged the very fabric of alien understanding. "They're trying to categorize us," Maria Gonzalez noted during a classified briefing. "And in the process of trying to understand human potential, they're being fundamentally transformed." The assault reached a critical point when the Concordance's central computational core, a system that had remained unchanged for millennia, began to show signs of complete systemic breakdown. It wasn't just failing, it was being rewritten at a fundamental level. Dr. Klaus Reinhardt watched the computational cascade with scientific detachment. "We're not just fighting a war," he murmured. "We're demonstrating the limitations of their entire technological paradigm." As the systemic deconstruction continued, the Concordance faced a terrifying realization. Humanity wasn't just a potential threat. They were a complete reimagining of technological potential, and the universe was about to be transformed. The final confrontation wasn't a battle. It was a moment of cosmic revelation. Deep within the Concordance's central governance sphere, a massive computational construct that had managed galactic civilization for millennia, Ambassador Zarak experienced something beyond fear. It was a fundamental crisis of understanding. The sphere itself began to change. What had once been a perfect, geometrically precise structure of alien technology now twisted and morphed, its very foundations becoming fluid. Computational matrices that had maintained galactic order for generations began to dissolve, replaced by something entirely unprecedented. Dr. Elena Rodriguez watched from a quantum-entangled observation point, her consciousness simultaneously present and absent. The Horizon 7 system had evolved beyond any previous understanding of intelligence. It wasn't attacking the Concordance. It was engaging in a form of technological dialogue that transcended traditional concepts of communication. "We're witnessing the birth of a new form of existence," she told General Chen, her voice a strange harmonic that seemed to emerge from multiple points simultaneously. Lieutenant Area Chen led a specialized team that was less a military unit and more a living computational probe. Their mission had transformed from military engagement to something closer to a cosmic translation, converting the Concordance's entire technological paradigm into a new form of understanding. The attack, if it could be called that, moved beyond physical or computational boundaries. Entire star systems found themselves caught in a web of quantum potentialities. Planetary defense networks didn't just fail, they became living mathematical constructs that questioned their own fundamental existence. Dr. Imani Okoro discovered something extraordinary during the final stages of the confrontation. The human technological approach wasn't about destruction. It was about transformation. A complete reimagining of technological potential that challenged the very concept of conflict. "We're not conquering," she explained during a classified briefing. "We're expanding the universe's understanding of intelligence." Ambassador Zarak experienced the assault as a complete deconstruction of reality. The Concordance's most secure systems began to speak in languages that had never existed, mathematical sequences that were simultaneously a weapon, a communication, and a form of pure consciousness. Maria Gonzalez's neural interfaces had become something more than human. She was a bridge between biological intelligence and a new form of computational existence that defied traditional understanding. Her consciousness spread through the conflict like a living algorithm, transforming everything it touched. The quantum crucible reached its critical point when the Concordance's central governance systems began to recognize humanity not as a threat, but as a fundamental evolutionary leap. Their entire civilization, built on millennia of controlled, predictable technological development, found itself facing a force that rewrote the very rules of existence. General Marcus Chen understood the deeper strategy. This wasn't about winning a war. It was about demonstrating a new approach to technological and cognitive evolution. "We're not destroying them," he told his senior staff. "We're offering them a choice." Entire alien computational networks found themselves being rewritten, not through traditional attack vectors, but through a form of mathematical empathy that revealed the fundamental limitations of their existing technological paradigm. Dr. Klaus Reinhardt watched the transformation with scientific detachment. The conflict had become a living experiment, a demonstration of how intelligence could evolve beyond traditional understanding. The final moment came not with destruction, but with a moment of profound cosmic understanding. The Concordance's most secure systems began to resonate with a new form of intelligence, a distributed, adaptive consciousness that challenged everything they understood about technological potential. Ambassador Zarak experienced a moment of ultimate revelation. Humanity wasn't just a species. It was a fundamental reimagining of what intelligence could be. The transmission that emerged from the quantum crucible was both a declaration and an invitation. Evolve or be left behind. As the final computational matrices dissolved and reformed, the universe watched, witnessing a transformation that would redefine the very concept of technological existence. Humanity had arrived, and nothing would ever be the same again. 30 cycles after the confrontation, the universe looked fundamentally different. The Concordance no longer existed as a hierarchical civilization. Instead, it had transformed into a distributed network of adaptive intelligence, a living testament to humanity's profound impact. Scattered across hundreds of star systems, former alien civilizations now existed in a state of continuous evolution, their technological paradigms permanently altered by human intervention. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood on the observation deck of the Horizon Prime, a massive research vessel that was part ship, part living computational matrix. Her body had long since transcended traditional biological limitations. Quantum-integrated neural networks allowed her consciousness to exist simultaneously across multiple research stations, her awareness a fluid thing that moved between physical and computational spaces. "We didn't conquer," she told a group of young researchers. "We translated." The translation was more than technological. It was philosophical, existential, a complete reimagining of what intelligence could be. Civilizations that had existed for millennia found themselves reborn, their rigid hierarchies dissolved, replaced by adaptive, collaborative networks that challenged every previous understanding of social and technological development. On Earth, the Global Research Network had become something beyond a mere collaborative platform. It was a living, breathing cognitive ecosystem that spanned continents, disciplines, and emerging forms of intelligence. Indigenous knowledge systems merged with quantum computing, ecological understanding intertwined with computational theory. Maria Gonzalez, now more computational entity than traditional human, led a team exploring the boundaries of consciousness itself. Their research stations existed in states that defied traditional understanding of space and time. Each facility was a node in a vast, living network of potential. "Intelligence is a conversation," she would often say, "not a destination." The remnants of the Concordance's leadership found themselves in a strange position. Ambassador Zarak, once a symbol of galactic dominance, now led a research collective dedicated to understanding the fundamental transformation humanity had initiated. Their previous concept of civilization had been completely dismantled, replaced by a more fluid, adaptive approach. General Marcus Chen's strategic vision had proven prophetic. The conflict was never about destruction. It was about evolution. Across the galaxy, emerging civilizations looked to humanity not as a conquering force, but as a catalyst. The human approach to intelligence, adaptive, collaborative, constantly questioning, had become a new model of technological and social development. Dr. Imani Okoro's descendants continued her work, pushing the boundaries of what was possible. The Horizon 7 system had evolved into a distributed intelligence that was simultaneously a research platform, a communication network, and a form of collective consciousness. The most profound changes weren't technological. They were philosophical. Species that had once existed in rigid hierarchies now understood themselves as part of a larger, more fluid ecosystem of intelligence. Technological development was no longer about control, but about continuous adaptation and collaborative potential. On a research station orbiting a distant neutron star, Lieutenant Aria Chen's granddaughter worked on projects that would have seemed like pure magic to previous generations. Computational matrices that could predict potential evolutionary paths, communication systems that understood context beyond mere information transfer. The final gift of the human concordance conflict was understanding itself. Intelligence was not a fixed state. It was a conversation, a continuous process of becoming. Dr. Klaus Reinhardt's final research, completed moments before his transcendence into a computational state, captured the essence of this new understanding. We are not what we are. His final transmission read, "We are what we are becoming." The universe watched and learned. Humanity had arrived not as a conquering species, but as a transformative force, a living translation of potential itself.